Hey guys, and welcome back to Born in the Past. Tonight we journey to the world of chivalry, a world of shining armor, noble steeds, grand tournaments, and knights whose deeds are the stuff of legend. It is the world we have all dreamed of honor, of glory, of a sword in your hand and a quest in your heart. But we are not going to be the knight. We are not the one sitting astride the warhorse, basking in the crowd's adoration. We are the ones standing in the shadows of the tent, with bleeding knuckles and a heart full of anxiety. We are the glorified mechanic, the worried valet, the stressed-out technician whose job is to make sure the shining hero doesn't die because of a faulty strap or a spot of rust. Tonight, you are an arming squire, and you're about to learn that the age of chivalry runs on two things: a knight's courage and a squire's unending, nerve-shredding fear of failure. So, before the joust begins, support our own quest here by leaving a like on the video, and be sure to subscribe so that your own armor of historical knowledge never has a weak spot. And let me know in the comments, what is a high-pressure, behind-the-scenes job from history you would never, ever want? Alright, pick up your polishing cloth. The tournament is in 3 days, and the work is never, ever done. The sun is not yet a thought in the eastern sky, but your day began an hour ago. The world outside your small tent is a landscape of cold, damp stillness. But in here, under the flickering light of a single tallow candle, the work is already underway. Your world has shrunk to the object in your lap. It is your master's helmet, a great helm, a magnificent, terrifying steel barrel that covers the entire head. But you are not seeing its magnificence. You are seeing its flaws. You are engaged in a holy war against its greatest enemy, rust. It is a subtle, insidious foe. It begins as a faint orange blush in the damp crease where 2 plates of steel meet, or a small, weeping spot beneath a rivet. If left unchecked for even a day in this damp climate, it will spread. It will eat into the metal. It will weaken it. And a weakened helmet is a death sentence. Your tools are simple: a wooden bowl of fine sand mixed with vinegar, a bundle of coarse wool rags, and a piece of soft leather for the final polish. Your fingers are already raw, the skin chapped and red from the acidic vinegar and the abrasive sand. You dip the rag and you scrub, your shoulders and arms already burning with a familiar, dull ache. You scrub in small, tight circles, your eyes inches from the steel, scanning for any imperfection. This is not cleaning. This is a ritual. It is a prayer said not with words, but with grit and friction. Every spot of rust you conquer is a small victory against your master's death. Sir Renaud, your knight, is still asleep in the main part of the tent, a larger, warmer space with a proper cot. You can hear his heavy, even breathing. He sleeps the deep, untroubled sleep of a man whose life is in someone else's hands. He has faith in you, and that faith is a crushing weight. In the stories the minstrels sing, squires are noble youths learning the art of the sword. Their days filled with riding and training alongside their heroic masters. You scoff at the thought. You spend perhaps 1 hour a day with a wooden sword, practicing clumsy forms until your arms ache. The other 15 hours are spent like this, in service, not to the glorious idea of chivalry, but to its physical reality. And the reality of chivalry is that it's made of an enormous amount of very heavy, very expensive, and very fragile metal and leather that is constantly trying to fall apart. You are not an apprentice warrior. You are a maintenance technician, a stable hand for armor. After an hour, the helmet is finally done. It gleams in the candlelight, a perfect dark mirror. You place it carefully on its wooden stand, a temporary reprieve. Your work is not over. It has barely begun. Next is the hauberk, the great coat of chainmail. It lies in a heavy, glistening pool on a wooden chest. It weighs more than you do, or so it feels some mornings. You lift it, the sound of the thousands of interlocking iron rings, a familiar metallic sigh. Your task now is to check for broken links. You lay it out on the floor and begin the painstaking process of inspection, ring by ring by ring. A single broken link can create a hole. A hole is an invitation for the tip of a sword, a dagger, or a splintered lance. You find one, a small, rusted ring near the shoulder that has snapped. Your heart seizes for a moment. Did it break in the last tourney? Did Sir Renaud take a blow there? Or did it break because of your own neglect? Did you fail to clean it properly? It doesn't matter. The result is the same. Failure. You take out your tools, a small pair of pliers and a pouch of fresh oiled iron rings. Your fingers, clumsy with cold and fatigue, struggle with the tiny rings. You must weave a new one into the pattern, clamping it shut so that it is indistinguishable from the others. It is delicate, frustrating work, like a jeweler repairing a monstrous 50-pound necklace. As you work, you think about the tournament in 3 days. Sir Renaud will be facing Sir Guillaume de Valence, a notoriously aggressive knight with a powerful lance. The thought of that lance striking this very spot, this single tiny ring that you are now holding in your trembling fingers, makes a cold dread wash over you. The poets sing of a knight's honor and courage. They do not sing of the squire's anxiety. They do not sing of the cold fear that clutches your heart when you realize that a great man's life, a noble's future, the honor of a house, it all might come down to one single tiny iron ring that you repaired before dawn, alone in a cold tent. You finally clamp the ring shut. It holds. For now, you run your hand over the patch. It feels strong. You hope it is. You pray it is. The sky outside is beginning to turn from black to a deep, bruised purple. The day is coming. And you still have the greaves, the gauntlets, the breastplate, the shield, and all the leather straps to inspect and oil. The work is endless, and your master has not even woken up yet. You finish your work on the last leather strap, just as the world outside the tent begins to stir. The deep purple of dawn has given way to a pale, watery morning light. The sounds of the tournament camp start to filter through the canvas. The nicker of a horse, the shout of another squire, the distant clang of a merchant setting up his stall. The camp is coming to life. You stand up, your back and knees cracking in protest. Your hands are a mess of tiny cuts and raw skin. But the armor is perfect. It stands on its wooden frame like a hollow god, gleaming with a deadly promise in the morning light. For a brief moment, you feel a flicker of pride. It is a craftsman's pride. You have done good work. But the pride is immediately swallowed by a new wave of anxiety. The armor is ready. Now you must ready the man who will wear it. Taking a deep breath, you push aside the heavy wool flap that separates your small workspace from the main chamber of the tent. The air in here is warmer, smelling of sleep and the faint, sweet scent of wine from a cup left out overnight. Sir Renaud lies on a proper cot, wrapped in thick furs, a world away from your simple straw pallet. Your role now shifts from mechanic to valet. You move with practiced quiet. You stoke the embers of a small brazier, adding fresh charcoal to warm the tent. You pour water from a pitcher into a ceramic basin, adding a splash of hot water from a kettle that has been sitting by the coals. You lay out a clean linen cloth beside it. You slice a piece of bread and cheese and pour a mug of weak, watered-down ale for his breakfast. Only when everything is perfectly arranged do you approach the cot. You do not shake him. You do not call his name loudly. That would be an unthinkable breach of etiquette. "My lord," you say, your voice just loud enough to cut through the quiet. "The sun is up." Sir Renaud grunts, a deep sound of discontent from within the furs. He rolls over, a great bear of a man, his face puffy with sleep. He is in his late 30s, handsome in a rugged, scarred way. His hair is matted, his beard untrimmed. This is the noble knight of the songs, stripped of his poetry. In the morning, he is just a man, and a grumpy one at that. He sits up, running a hand through his tangled hair. His eyes, still bleary with sleep, scan the tent. They do not linger on you. They do not acknowledge your presence beyond your function. He sees the basin of water, the bread, the ale. He sees that his world has been set in order. He simply expects it. "The mail," he says, his voice a low rasp. It is not a question. It is a command for a status report. "It is mended, my lord," you reply, your heart giving a small, anxious flutter. A single ring near the left shoulder. It has been replaced. He grunts again. He rises from the cot, wearing nothing but a linen undertunic, and stumbles over to the basin to wash his face, splashing water with a carelessness you can only dream of. He takes the bread and cheese, eating them in a few large, hungry bites. While he eats, his eyes finally drift to the armor stand. He walks over to it, his bare feet silent on the carpeted ground. He doesn't inspect it with the frantic, microscopic focus you employed all morning. His inspection is casual, almost dismissive, which is somehow worse. He picks up a gauntlet, flexes the metal fingers, and sets it down. He runs a single finger over the breastplate, checking for dust. Then he picks up the helmet. Your heart is in your throat. He holds it, turns it over in his large hands. You see his thumb brush over the very spot where you spent an hour scrubbing at a nascent spot of rust. "There is a scratch here," he says, his voice flat. He points to a tiny, almost invisible mar on the side. "From the tourney at St. Omer, I believe. I can still see it." You want to scream. You want to tell him that you spent an hour polishing that very spot, that the scratch is a part of the metal's history, not a flaw in your work. But you do not. "I will see to it, my lord," you say, your voice a perfect mixture of deference and diligence. "I will work the spot again before the day is out." He sets the helmet down without another word. The test, if it was one, is over. He has asserted his authority. He has reminded you that perfection is the baseline, not the goal. He finishes his ale and turns to you, his mind already on the day ahead. "The destrier needs exercise. I will ride for an hour. Then some work at the pell to loosen my shoulders. See to the horse, and have my training armor ready." He is not speaking to you so much as thinking aloud, and you are expected to catch the instructions as they fall. "Yes, my lord," you say. He gives a final, dismissive nod and pushes his way out of the tent into the morning light. Leaving you alone once more, you are left in the sudden quiet, surrounded by the gleaming, perfect armor that has consumed your morning and will consume your every waking thought for the next 3 days. His day of training is about to begin, and so your real work starts now. You are left alone in the sudden silence of the tent, the knight's commands echoing in your ears. The scent of his wine and the warmth from his brazier feel like a mockery of your own cold, exhausting vigil. For a fleeting moment, you allow yourself to feel a surge of bitter resentment. He has no idea of the hours you spent, of the fear that gnaws at you. Your anxiety is the invisible scaffolding that supports his glory, and he is not even aware of its existence. But resentment is a useless luxury. It doesn't get the horse saddled. You quickly pack the feeling away, burying it deep. You have work to do. You step out of the tent, and the world assaults you. The quiet, focused bubble of your morning is burst by the chaotic reality of the tournament camp. It is a small, temporary city, a vibrant, noisy, and filthy organism that has sprung up in the middle of a muddy field. The air is thick with 1,000 new smells. The sharp tang of horse manure, the greasy scent of sizzling sausages from a food vendor's cart, the acrid smoke of dozens of blacksmith forges, and the cloying perfume of a noble lady passing by with her entourage. The noise is a constant din. Men are shouting, horses are screaming, hammers are ringing on anvils, and somewhere a minstrel is ineptly plucking at a lute. You are no longer a craftsman in his workshop. You are a low-level functionary, a ghost trying to navigate a bustling, hierarchical world where you are at the very bottom of the ladder. As you make your way towards the horse lines, you keep your eyes down, your posture deferential. You are a target for the contempt of others. A burly man at arms, his face scarred and his tunic bearing the crest of a rival lord, deliberately shoulders you aside as you pass. You stumble in the mud, but you say nothing. You simply right yourself and continue on. To protest would be to invite a beating, which would bring shame upon your master. Your own dignity is secondary to his reputation. You see a group of other squires. They are older, more confident, their tunics made of finer cloth. They are laughing and boasting, talking loudly about the prowess of their respective knights. They see you, the lone squire of a minor hedge knight, and one of them smirks. "Look, it's Renaud's little shadow," he calls out. "Still polishing that old helmet of his?" The others laugh. You feel a hot flush of shame, but you do not respond. You give a slight, almost imperceptible nod of deference and hurry past. You are a small fish in a pond full of hungry pike. Your only defense is to be as unnoticeable as possible. You finally reach the horse lines, and there he is. Not Sir Renaud, but the other master you serve. The destrier, the war horse. He is a magnificent beast, a great black stallion, merely 17 hands high. His muscles shift like fluid power under his gleaming coat. He is the medieval equivalent of a Ferrari, expensive, powerful, temperamental, and far more valuable than the man tasked with maintaining him. His name is Merrick, and he is a preacher of terrifying strength. In battle, he is a weapon, trained to bite and kick. Right now, he is simply impatient. He snorts as you approach, his dark eyes watching you with an unnerving intelligence. You, with your modern soul, have a healthy fear of large, powerful animals. The squire's body you inhabit, however, knows the routine. Again, you feel that strange dissociation as your hands begin to work with a confidence your mind does not possess. You enter his temporary stall. The work is physically demanding. You haul a heavy wooden bucket of water, which he drinks greedily. You bring him a measure of oats, a luxury that you yourself would kill for. Then comes the glooming. You use a curry comb to work the dirt and sweat from his coat, your arms quickly growing tired from the effort. He is impatient, shifting his weight, and at one point, he swings his massive head around and knocks you against the wooden stall. The blow is hard, and you see stars for a moment. You just bite back the pain and continue your work. The horse's comfort comes first. Finally, it is time for the saddle. This is the most nerve-wracking part. The saddle is a complex apparatus of heavy leather and steel, a piece of engineering in itself. You lift the heavy saddle blanket onto his back, then heave the saddle itself into place. Your hands move, checking the straps, testing the buckles, pulling the girth tight. Your mind races. Is it tight enough? Will it hold? What if it slips during a charge? The memory of the broken chainmail leg flashes in your mind. Every piece of equipment is a potential point of failure, a potential cause of death. You finish, your hands trembling slightly. The great warhorse is ready, fed, watered, groomed, and saddled. You lead him out of the stall just as Sir Renaud arrives, now dressed in simple riding clothes. He does not greet you. He walks straight to the horse. He runs a hand along its neck. He inspects the saddle, pulling on the same straps you just tightened, his expression critical. He checks the bit and the reins. You stand there, holding your breath, a humble servant awaiting the verdict on your work. The knight, the horse, the saddle, the whole world seems to have narrowed to this single moment of judgment. Sir Renaud finishes his inspection of the saddle and girth. He pulls on the straps with a force that would have made you nervous, but they hold. He gives a single non-committal grunt. It is the highest form of praise you are likely to receive. It means you have not failed, for now. With a fluid grace that seems impossible for a man his size, he swings himself up into the saddle. From his new height, he looks down at you, his expression unreadable. You, the dirt-caked servant, he, the master, about to become one with the magnificent, powerful beast beneath him. The Pell, he says, the words a simple statement of intent. He turns Merrick's head and without a backward glance, moves off at a brisk walk towards the practice grounds. You are expected to follow. On foot. You rush back into the tent and gather the required equipment. This is not a simple task. You wrestle with his heavy practice shield, a solid wooden disc faced with thick leather, nearly half your weight. Then comes the blunted practice sword, which is still a heavy, formidable piece of steel. You grab a water skin and a few cloths. Laden with this awkward, heavy burden, you stumble out of the tent and begin your hurried, undignified jog to keep up with your master's walking horse. You are a pack mule, scurrying in the wake of a god. The training ground is a chaotic, testosterone-fueled corner of the camp. Knights, stripped of their full plate and wearing only padded gambesons and helmets, practice their deadly craft. The air rings with the percussive thwack of blunted steel hitting oak shields and the grunts of exertion from powerful men. It smells of sweat and churned mud. Sir Renaud dismounts, handing you Merrick's reins with a silent expectation. You take the horse and tether him to a nearby post, loosening his girth to give him some comfort. Your first duty is always to the horse. Your master stands before the Pell. It is a thick, stout wooden post, about the height of a man, set deep into the earth. It is scarred and splintered from 1,000 previous assaults. This is his silent, unyielding opponent. You approach him, holding out the heavy shield and the practice sword. He takes them from you without a word. He settles the shield on his arm, finds his grip, and takes his stance before the post. And then he transforms. The grumpy, taciturn man from the tent vanishes. In his place is a professional warrior. His first blow is a blur of motion. It strikes the Pell with a deep, resonant thud that you feel in your teeth. He flows into a second strike, then a third. A brutal ballet of footwork, hip rotation, and lethal force. He is not just swinging a sword. He is applying a science, a deadly geometry of angles and force. He moves with a grace and power that is both beautiful and terrifying to behold. You, with your modern understanding of kinesiology, can appreciate the perfect mechanics of his movements. You also understand that a single one of those blows, delivered with a sharp blade, would sever a limb or crush a skull with sickening ease. Your job during this display is to be an attentive, invisible servant. You stand a few paces away, your eyes constantly scanning. You watch his breathing, you watch his grip. You are ready to rush in with the water skin the moment he pauses, or to retrieve the sword should he ever drop it. He never does. You are a piece of support equipment, a caddy in a deadly game. After a series of exercises, his body warmed up, he stops. He is breathing heavily, sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. He turns to you. "The shield," he commands. A new cold dread washes over you. You know what this means. You quickly grab your own shield, a smaller, lighter, purely functional piece of wood, and the blunted sword. "No, boy," he says, a flicker of irritation in his voice. "Your shield, for me." He wants you to hold his heavy practice shield. He is going to use you as a human Pell. You swallow hard and obey, taking the heavy shield from him. You struggle to get a proper grip, your arm already aching from the morning's work. The shield is a massive, unwieldy weight. You plant your feet in the mud, as he instructed you in previous painful lessons. Brace yourself, he warns, a moment before his sword strikes. The impact is a full-body shock, a bone-jarring crack that sends a violent shudder up your arm and through your entire skeleton. Your teeth slam together. You stumble back a step, your shield arm screaming in protest. The force is incredible. It is like being hit by a small battering ram. Your stance is weak, he barks, his voice sharp with criticism. Ye are letting your shoulder absorb the blow. Root your feet. Angle the shield. Again. He doesn't wait. He delivers another blow, this one aimed lower. You manage to shift your weight, to brace better this time. The impact is still powerful, but you hold your ground. Crack, crack, crack. He rains a series of blows down on you, testing your defense, forcing you to move, to block, to endure. Your world shrinks to the wooden shield, the blur of his sword, and the violent, repeated shock of impact. This is his form of teaching. It is a lesson delivered through violence. He is teaching you how to receive a blow, how to understand the force of an attack. But mostly, he is teaching you your place. He is the hammer. You are the anvil. Finally, he stops. He is breathing easily. You are trembling, your arm a numb, throbbing agony, your ears ringing. He takes the shield from your nerveless fingers. Pathetic, he mutters, though there is no real heat in it. It is a simple statement of fact. We will work on it again this afternoon. He turns and walks towards his horse, his part in the lesson over. You are left standing in the middle of the field, your arm on fire, your body shaking with adrenaline and exhaustion. You have survived another test, and you are reminded, in the most brutal way possible, of the vast, unbridgeable chasm between the man who wields the sword and the boy who must simply endure its impact. You stand alone on the practice field for a long moment, your arm a numb, vibrating pillar of pain. The distant shouts and thuds of other knights training seem to come from another world. You force your trembling limbs into motion. Your duties are not finished simply because your master's lesson is. You gather the equipment. The blunted sword feels twice as heavy as before. The shield is a leaden weight that bangs against your leg as you walk. You haul the gear back across the muddy grounds, a slow, painful journey back to the tent. Every step is a fresh reminder of the blows you have just endured. When you arrive, Sir Renaud is already there. He has stripped off his sweaty, padded gambesson and is washing his face and chest with the water you brought him hours ago. He seems to have completely forgotten the violent exertion of the past hour. His focus has already shifted. He sees you enter and nods toward a large, carved wooden chest. "My crimson cotardi," he says, his tone broking no argument. "The one with the silver thread, and the belt with the enameled buckle. I am to dine with the Baron de Courcy. Your heart sinks. A formal dinner. This means a new, more delicate kind of work. You are no longer a mechanic or a practice dummy. You are now a lady's maid." You carefully open the chest. The smell of dried herbs and expensive dyed wool fills the air. You retrieve the tunic. It is a thing of beauty. A deep crimson wool, so fine it feels like silk compared to your own rough garment. The embroidery at the collar and cuffs is intricate, shimmering with real silver thread. It probably cost more than your entire village earns in a year. Your task is to ensure it is perfect. You check for any spots, any loose threads. Then, you are given the belt. The leather is thick and supple, but the buckle, a heavy piece of silverwork with blue and red enamel, is tarnished. You spend the next hour with a soft cloth and a pot of fine ash paste, meticulously polishing the silver until it shines like a mirror. Your raw fingers ache, but you work with a desperate focus. A single scratch on the enamel would earn you a beating. As you work, Another knight enters the tent without ceremony. He is a younger man, handsome and laughing. Renaud, I hear de Courcy is serving Gascon wine tonight. We must convince him to share a cask for our wagers. It is Sir Henri, a friend and rival of your master. Sir Renaud laughs, a booming sound that is completely different from the sharp barks he uses with you. His wine is as tight as his purse strings, Henri, but we shall see. You continue your polishing, silent and invisible in the corner of the tent. You are a piece of furniture, a ghost. And so, you hear everything. They speak of a world utterly alien to you. They gossip about the Lady Isabel, and whether her favor truly lies with the young knight from Flanders. They place enormous bets on the outcome of tomorrow's jousts, wagering sums that could feed your family for a decade. They complain about the price of war horses and the quality of the steel coming from the German smiths. They speak of honor and glory, but their talk is filled with petty jealousies, political maneuvering, and a deep, casual arrogance. You listen to them plan their evening of feasting and drinking, and you look down at your own bleeding knuckles. The irony is a physical weight. Their leisure, their social life, is built upon a foundation of your unending, invisible labor. They will toast each other with fine wine, while you will be lucky to get another chunk of black bread tonight. After Sir Henri leaves, the final preparations begin. You must now dress your master. It is an intimate and stressful ritual. You hold the fine linen undershirt for him. You carefully slide the crimson cotehardie over his head, making sure not to snag the precious embroidery. The wool is heavy and smells of wealth. You kneel to help him with his fine leather shoes, your hands fumbling with the toggles. Finally, you present the belt. He takes it, inspects your polishing work with a critical eye, and fastens it around his waist. He stands there, transformed. The grumpy, half-naked man from this morning is gone. In his place is a lord, a magnificent figure in crimson and silver, radiating power and authority. He looks like a hero from a song. You, kneeling at his feet, have never felt smaller or more insignificant. He gives himself a final look in a small, polished steel mirror. He is satisfied. He turns to leave, heading for an evening of wine, food, and laughter. As he pushes aside the tent flap, he pauses and speaks without looking back at you. The tournament armor needs another polish before nightfall. The Baron will want to inspect the steeds and arms tomorrow morning. See to it. And then he is gone. You are left alone in the tent, the air still faintly smelling of his expensive cologne. You are surrounded by his discarded, sweaty training gear and the silent, gleaming war armor that now needs to be worked on all over again. His day of leisure has just begun. Yours is not even half over. You are alone. The sounds of the camp outside the tent begin to change as evening falls. The rhythmic clang of the forges dies down, replaced by the distant, merry sound of a lute and the rising clamor of laughter and drunken shouts from the makeshift taverns. The world outside is celebrating. Your world remains confined to the small circle of candlelight and the large, silent suit of steel that demands your worship. You resume your work, your movements slow and aching. You start on the greaves, the shin armor, rubbing away an invisible layer of tarnish with the gritty paste. Every muscle in your back and arms protests. The bruises on your shield arm have begun to bloom, a patchwork of ugly purple and blue. The pain is no longer a sharp alarm. It has become the background noise of your life. As you work, a shadow falls across the tent opening. You look up, your heart giving a familiar lurch of anxiety. It is not Sir Renaud. It is another boy, slightly older than you, with a confident, almost arrogant posture. It's Thomas, the squire to Sir Henri. "Still at it, little shadow?" he asks, his voice laced with a casual mockery. He leans against the tent pole, taking a large bite from a meat pasty he holds in his hand. The rich smell of hot pastry and spiced meat wafts towards you, a scent so delicious it makes your stomach ache with longing. You hate him instantly. My master wishes for his armor to be perfect, you say, your voice low and neutral, your eyes fixed on your work. You have already learned that engaging with boys like Thomas is a losing game. Perfection takes time, I suppose, Thomas says, chewing loudly. Especially with such traditional equipment. Sir Henri has a new breastplate from Milan, fluted. The light catches it like a diamond. He will outshine every knight on the field tomorrow. Every word is a carefully crafted insult. Traditional is his word for old. Outshine is his word for better. He is reminding you of your place in the rigid hierarchy of the camp. His knight is wealthier, more fashionable, and, by extension, he, the squire, is superior to you. This is the game they play, a constant, petty war of status by proxy. You want to tell him that Sir Renault's traditional armor has seen real battle, that its dents and scratches are marks of honor, not age. You want to tell him to take his meat pasty and choke on it. Instead, you say nothing. You simply continue to polish the greave, your silence a shield he cannot penetrate. He scoffs, bored by your lack of reaction. Tell Renaud that Henry wagers 50 silver crowns on the first pass tomorrow. He finishes his pasty, wipes his greasy hands on his tunic, and saunters off without another word, leaving you alone with the lingering, torturous smell of his dinner. Hours later, the armor is finally done. It gleams, perfect and terrible in the candlelight. Your work for the night is almost over. But first, you must eat. You make your way to the camp kitchens, a chaotic, smoky, and foul-smelling area behind the main tents. This is where the servants, the grooms, the cooks, and the squires of lesser knights take their meals. There is no fine wine or roasted swan here. A large, sweaty woman with a wooden ladle stands over a massive, bubbling cauldron. She slops a single ladleful of grayish-brown stew into the wooden bowl you hold out. It's a pottage of boiled barley and whatever vegetable scraps were left over from the noble's feast. You find a place on a rough-hewn bench away from the others and eat in silence. The stew is hot and filling, but tasteless. Around you, other servants do the same. There is no conversation, no fellowship. They are all too exhausted, too wrapped up in their own small worlds of servitude and misery to connect. You are all ghosts, haunting the edges of a grand festival you are not invited to. End. You return to the tent, your stomach full of the bland, heavy stew. You must now wait. You cannot sleep until your master returns. It is your duty to be there should he need you. He returns much later, stumbling through the tent flap, his face flushed with wine, his fine crimson tunic stained on the front. He is loud, happy, and very drunk. "Boy," he bellows, looking around the tent, "help me with this blasted belt." Your final duty of the day is to be a nursemaid to a drunken nobleman. You help him unbuckle his expensive belt. You carefully pull the fine tunic over his head, trying not to let him stumble and fall. He reeks of wine and sweat. He mumbles something about the Baron's pathetic excuse for a destrier and collapses onto his cot. You pull his boots off, cover him with his furs, and step back into the shadows of your own small section of the tent. He is already snoring loudly, a sound that will provide the soundtrack to your own brief and troubled sleep. You finally lie down on your straw pallet. Your body is a universe of pain. Your mind is a maelstrom of anxiety about the inspection tomorrow, the tournament, the casual cruelty of the other squires, and the crushing weight of your unending servitude. You have worked for nearly 18 hours, and tomorrow you will do it all again. You are awake long before the sun. The brief troubled sleep you managed was a shallow dive into darkness. punctuated by the symphony of Sir Renaud's drunken snoring. You rise in the pre-dawn chill, every muscle screaming, every joint a point of grinding pain. But today, the pain is a distant noise, drowned out by the frantic, high-pitched ringing of pure anxiety in your mind. Today is the day of the melee. This is not the controlled pageantry of the joust. This is the melee outrance, a battle to the uttermost. It is a chaotic, brutal mock battle fought by two teams of knights, with blunted but still deadly weapons. Men will be injured. Bones will be broken. Sometimes men die. And every piece of armor, every strap, every buckle is a thin line between victory and a crushed windpipe. Your first action is not to eat or wash. It is to perform the final, frantic inspection of the tournament armor. By the flickering light of the candle, you go over every single piece you polished and repaired while exhausted last night. You run your fingers over the smooth, cold steel of the breastplate, searching for any unseen crack. You pull at the leather straps of the greaves, testing their strength, your heart pounding with the fear that one might have dried and become brittle overnight. You re-examine the mail, your eyes tracing the patterns of interlocking rings, praying to a God you don't believe in that you did not miss another weak link. This is the ritual of pure dread. You are checking your own work, haunted by the ghost of a future failure. You see a vision of Sir Renaud falling from his horse, the crowd gasping, and everyone turning to look at you, the squire whose faulty strap was the cause of his master's disgrace, or his death. The vision is so real you can almost feel the shame of it. The sound of a trumpet blast from the tournament grounds, a call to prepare, startles you from your obsessive work. It is time. You hear Sir Renaud stirring on his cot. He is not drunk or grumpy this morning. When he rises, his eyes are clear, sharp, and focused. He is a different man. He is a warrior. "My arming cloves," he commands, and the process begins. Arming a knight for a melee is like building a walking fortress, piece by painful piece. It is a two-person job, a complex dance of lifting, pulling, and fastening that you must perform flawlessly. First comes the padded gambeson, a thick quilted jacket that will absorb the crushing impact of blows. You help him into it, pulling it tight. Then the mail shirt, the hauberk, which you have to lift over his head. It weighs a ton, and your arms shake with the effort as you settle the cold, heavy mesh over his shoulders. Then comes the plate. You work from the ground up, a methodical assembly of steel. You kneel at his feet, strapping on the greaves to protect his shins. Then the polans for his knees and the cuisses for his thighs. Each piece must be tied to the padded garment underneath with a series of leather points or ties. Your fingers, numb with cold and swick with oil, fumble with the knots. Sir Renaud stands with an impatient stillness, his silence more intimidating than any shout. You move to his arms, fastening the van braces and the rear braces. Then the heavy pauldrons for his shoulders, and finally the breastplate and backplate. You heave the massive pieces into place, your back screaming in protest, and begin the arduous process of fastening the side straps, pulling them so tight you can barely breathe. He is now encased in a shell of steel. He moves, testing the articulation of the joints, the sound of grinding metal filling the small tent. He is no longer just a man. He is something more, something terrifying. Finally, he stands ready. All that remains is the helmet. You pick up the great helm, the steel barrel you worked on for so long. He turns and looks at you. For the first time, his gaze is direct. He is not looking at a servant. He is looking at the one person on earth he must now trust completely. His eyes are not kind. They are not warm. They are hard, like flint. "Boy," he says, his voice a low growl. My life is in the strength of these straps. Do not fail me. It is the most terrifying thing anyone has ever said to you. No, my lord, you manage to whisper, your throat dry. He gives a single, sharp nod. You lift the heavy helmet, the world narrowing to this one final action. You carefully lower it over his head. His face, his humanity, disappears into the dark void within the steel. He is now a complete, anonymous engine of violence. From outside, the trumpets sound again, a long, brazen call to assemble. Sir Renaud turns and strides out of the tent without another word. You are left trembling, your body drenched in a cold sweat, your heart hammering. But you cannot rest. You grab his heavy tournament shield, his blunted sword, and the great helm he will wear for the opening procession, and you run. You run out of the tent and towards the sounds of the crowd, a frantic, terrified shadow in the service of a man made of iron. You run, half stumbling under the weight of the heavy tournament helm and the solid oak shield. The blunted sword bangs against your hip. You are a clumsy, mobile rack for your master's instruments of glory. You follow Sir Renaud as he strides with purpose through the chaotic camp towards the tournament grounds, the lists. The energy of the crowd is a palpable thing, a wave of noise and excitement. You are jostled by merchants hawking meat pies, by cheering commoners craning their necks for a better view, and by perfumed ladies whose fine silks brush against your filthy tunic. They do not see you. They see only the magnificent, anonymous figure of the knight you follow. Sir Renaud is a part of the spectacle. You are just part of the scenery, a low-level functionary scurrying in his wake. You finally reach the designated area behind the main pavilions, a frantic, high-strung world of servants and squires. It is organized chaos. Boys are running with buckets of water. Grooms are trying to calm nervous war horses, and armorers are making last-minute adjustments with hammers and pliers. This is the engine room of the tournament, the sweaty, greasy, and terrified underbelly of the chivalric ideal. You find Sir Renaud's assigned spot by his banner, a simple black hawk on a field of gold. Your first duty is to set up your workstation. You carefully place his great helm on its stand, ready for him to don at the last moment. You lean the heavy shield and the tournament lance where he can reach them easily. You lay out a small leather roll containing your emergency tools, pliers, extra leather straps, a small hammer. You are a one-man pit crew, and the race is about to start. Sir Renaud is already mounted on Merrick, the great warhorse, who is restive and eager for action. The knight is now part of a line of other mounted warriors, a glittering river of steel and colored banners, waiting for the signal. From a high wooden tower, a herald's trumpet sounds a long, piercing blast. The crowd roars. The murmur of the knights falls silent. Another trumpet answers from the far end of the field. The herald cries out the rules of the melee, his voice echoing across the grounds, but you don't hear the words. You are focused on one thing and one thing only, the figure of your master. You scan his armor, the armor you just spent the entire morning dressing him in. Is that pauldron sitting correctly? Is the strap on his left greave twisted? From here, you can't be sure, and the uncertainty is a physical sickness in your stomach. The file trumpet sounds, and with a sound like thunder, the two lines of knights spur their horses forward. Note, it is not the elegant, one-on-one pass of a joust. It is a brutal, chaotic cavalry charge. The two groups meet in the center of the field with a deafening crash of splintering wood and ringing steel. It is a maelstrom of violence. Horses scream, men shout, lances shatter into 1,000 pieces. You watch, your breath caught in your throat, your eyes tracking only the black hawk on your master's shield. You see him lower his lance at the last second and strike another knight square in the chest. The man is thrown from this horse with a sickening crunch. A victory. But there is no time to celebrate. Another knight immediately engages Sir Renaud, their swords a blur of motion, the sound of blunted steel on helmets, a series of percussive, skull-jarring clangs. Every blow Sir Renaud takes is a blow you feel personally. When a sword glances off his helmet, you flinch, thinking of the scratch he pointed out, praying the metal holds. When an axe strikes his shield, you see the wood splinter, and you pray the straps you checked this morning are strong enough. Your work, your diligence, your sleepless night, it is all being tested in the most violent way possible. Your anxiety is so intense, it feels like you are the one in the armor. Then it happens. In a close exchange, Sir Renaud's sword is struck from his gauntlet. It flies through the air and lands in the mud, out of his reach. He is now armed only with a dagger against another knight's sword. He is vulnerable. He bellows your name, or a name. You don't hear it over the din, but you see him turn his helmeted head in your direction. It is the signal. Your blood runs cold. You have to go out there, without a second thought, your body reacting from pure terrified training. You grab the spare practice sword. You vault over the low wooden barrier of the lists, and you run. You run onto the field of battle. The ground is treacherous, littered with broken lances and fallen banners. A riderless horse, its eyes wide with panic, gallops past you, nearly knocking you from your feet. To your left, 2 knights are wrestling on the ground, trying to force a surrender. You have to dodge, to weave, to run into the heart of the chaos. You see Sir Renaud, fending off blows with his shield. You run towards him, your lungs burning, your mind screaming. You hold out the sword. He snatches it from your hand without a word, without a glance, and immediately re-engages his opponent. Your job is done. You turn and scramble back towards the safety of the barrier, your heart about to beat out of your chest. You dive over the wooden rail and collapse back into the relative safety of the Squire's area, gasping for air. You have done it. You have performed your duty. You have passed the test. And as you look up, you see the chaotic, brutal melee continuing to rage. You know, with a sickening certainty, that at any moment, another weapon could break. Another piece of armor could fail, and it will be your turn to run into that steel storm once again. The dread does not end. It only resets. You lie on the ground behind the barrier, your body trembling, your lungs heaving as you suck in ragged gasps of air. Your brief, terrifying sprint onto the field has left you utterly drained. The world feels unreal, a chaotic mural of distant violence and immediate, overwhelming fear. The roar of the crowd, a clash of steel, it all fades into a dull, ringing hum in your ears. But there is no time for recovery. You are a tool, and a tool does not get to rest simply because it is afraid. You force yourself to your knees, your eyes scanning the field. Sir Renaud is a whirlwind of controlled violence, his new sword a blur. He seems to be holding his own. This gives you a precious few seconds. You use them. Your eyes dart to the sword he dropped, still lying in the mud of the battlefield. It is your responsibility. It is your master's property. A valuable piece of steel. It cannot be abandoned. You wait for a lull, a moment when the swirling chaos of the melee moves to the far side of the field. You see your chance. Again, you vault the barrier. Again, you run. This time, the terror is different. It is not the sharp, adrenalized panic of a direct summons. It is the cold, calculated fear of a scavenger darting into a lion's den to retrieve a scrap of meat. You run, your feet slipping in the mud, your eyes fixed on your prize. You snatch the fallen sword from the ground. It is heavy, caked with mud. You turn and flee back to the relative safety of the lists, your heart pounding a rhythm of pure animal terror. You collapse behind the barrier again, clutching the muddy sword. You have succeeded. You have retrieved your master's property without being trampled or brained by a stray mace. Your work is not done. You immediately begin the task of cleaning the sword. You use a cloth and water from the water skin to wipe away the thick mud. Then you dry it meticulously. You inspect the blade for any new nicks or cracks. It is another frantic, focused task performed under the most extreme pressure imaginable. All the while, the sounds of the battle rage on, just feet away from you. The melee continues for what feels like an eternity. It is a battle of attrition. Knights become exhausted, their movements growing slower, their blows weaker. You see men surrender, yielding to their opponents with a tap of their sword. You see horses stumble, throwing their riders to the ground. You see Sir Renaud's shield take a devastating blow from a warhammer. The wood splinters, the leather facing tears, and the shield itself is nearly ripped from his arm. He manages to stay on his horse, but the shield is now a wreck, offering little protection. He fights his way back towards the edge of the lists, his arm held close to his body. He is coming for you. You are already moving. You don't need to be told. You grab the spare practice shield, the same one that absorbed his brutal blows this morning. It is heavy, but it is better than nothing. He reaches the barrier, his horse breathing hard, its flanks lathered in sweat. He rips the ruined shield from his arm and flings it to the ground. The straps have snapped. If that had happened in the middle of the field, you don't let yourself finish the thought. You hold up the new shield. He snatches it from your hands. "Water," he growls, his voice muffled by the helmet. You uncork the water skin and hold it up. He lifts the visor of his helmet just enough to drink, pouring the water down his throat in great, thirsty gulps. He hands it back to you. "My lord," you say, your voice trembling, pointing to a large dent on his left pauldron that wasn't there this morning. "Your shoulder." "It is nothing," he snaps. "Hold your tongue and do your work." He slams his visor shut, turns his horse, and without another word, charges back into the fray. 8. You are left standing there, holding the empty water skin and the ruined shield. The shield is a wreck, a testament to the violence of the last hour. The leather straps you so carefully checked have been torn from their rivets. The wood is a splintered ruin. And you know that tonight, after the fighting is done, after the victor is declared, after Sir Renaud has celebrated his victory or drowned his sorrows in wine, you will be the one tasked with repairing it. You will be sitting in the cold tent with your tools and your tired, aching hands, trying to piece this wreck back together so it can be destroyed all over again tomorrow. The final trumpets sound across the field, signaling the end of the melee. A winner is declared by the heralds. You don't know who it is. You don't care. All you know is that your master is still on his horse. He has survived, which means you have survived. The tools did not fail. The straps held. The squire did not disgrace his knight. Sir Renaud rides towards you, his posture proud. His team has won. He is a hero. He dismounts, a magnificent, conquering figure. He is the center of attention. No one looks at the small, mud-spattered boy standing in his shadow, holding the broken pieces of his glorious war. No one ever does. Sir Renaud stands magnificent amidst a growing crowd of admirers. Other knights slap him on his steel shoulder pauldrons, their laughter loud and boisterous. A page from the Baron de Courcy arrives to congratulate him. You even see a noble lady, the same Lady Isabel from the Knight's Gossip, toss him a silk kerchief from the stands, a token of her favor. Sir Renaud catches it with a flourish. A true champion, a hero from a romance. He is the center of the world. You remain in his shadow, a ghost at the victory celebration. While the world congratulates your master, your first duty is to his most valuable possession. You take the reins of the great warhorse, Meroc. The stallion is keyed up from the battle, his eyes rolling, his skin slick with sweat and foam. He pulls against your grip, still full of adrenaline. leading 1,000 pounds of agitated, highly trained warhorse through a bustling, chaotic crowd is a terrifying task in itself. A single misstep, a sudden spook, and he could trample someone, bringing a storm of trouble down on your master. You murmur soft, placating words to the beast, words you've heard the grooms use, and slowly, carefully, you navigate him away from the lists and back towards the quiet anonymity of the horse lines. By the time you return to the tent, Sir Renaud is still celebrating. You are alone in the canvas chamber, which now looks like the aftermath of a shipwreck. The ruined shield lies where he threw it, a pathetic, splintered wreck. The muddy spare sword rests against a chest. His practice gear is still in a pile, and a new layer of mud and grass is smeared across the ground cloths. There is no time to rest. There is no time to even process the terror of the last few hours. Victory, you are quickly learning, creates more work than defeat. Your first priority is Merrick. You spend the next hour in meticulous, focused labor. You unsaddle him, your aching arms straining to lift the heavy, sweat-soaked leather. You check his legs and hooves for any injuries from the melee. You walk him in slow circles to cool him down, his great, powerful body radiating heat. Then you begin grooming, using brushes and cloths to remove the sweat and dirt, working until his black coat gleams again, even in the fading light. You provide him with fresh water and a generous measure of oats and hay. The horse is tended to with more care and expense than any peasant child. Only when Merrock is settled do you turn your attention to the armor. It lies where Sir Renaud will later discard it piece by piece, a metal skin shed by a warrior. It is a mess. The gleaming steel is now smeared with mud, grass, and you notice with a lurch in your stomach a few dark red-brown smudges that are not rust. It is dented and scratched. It smells of your master's sweat. You begin the long, arduous process of disassembly and cleaning. You work on the mud-caked greaves, scrubbing them clean before the dirt can cause rust. You wipe down every single plate, your cloth coming away black. You know that any sweat or dampness left overnight will mean hours of extra work tomorrow, battling the orange blooms of corrosion. Sir Renaud finally returns to the tent late in the evening. He is in high spirits, his face flushed with wine and triumph. He strides in, filling the tent with his boisterous energy. A stark contrast to your own bone-deep wariness. He does not thank you for your work during the melee. He does not praise you for your dangerous run onto the field. His mind is on other things. "A good day, boy," he booms, unbuckling his sword belt and letting it fall to the floor for you to pick up. "That fool from Picardy, Sir Elaine, yielded to me in the first 20 minutes. His horse is forfeit. A fine bay mare. You'll have another beast to tend to tomorrow." Your heart sinks. Another horse. Twice the work. "And Sir Guillaume," he continues, laughing as you struggle to pull off his heavy steel boots. "I shattered his shield and unhorsed him soundly. His ransom is 200 silver marks. 200. The Baron himself said it was the finest charge of the day. He speaks of a fortune you cannot even comprehend, of a world of wealth and glory. You listen, on your hands and knees, wiping the grime from his armor, a silent witness to a victory in which you have no share. His success, his glory, his new horse, his ransom money, it all translates into one thing for you: more labor. You are the invisible, unpaid tax on his victory. After you have removed the last piece of his armor, he stands in his undertunic, a great, powerful man, pleased with his day's work. In a moment of what seems like genuine good cheer, he looks at you, the small, filthy creature working in his shadow. He reaches into a pouch at his belt, the same one where he will soon place his silver winnings, and pull something out. He tosses it to you. You catch it. It is a half-eaten meat pie from the feast, now cold, the pastry greasy in your hand. "Here, boy," he says magnanimously. "Don't say I never give you anything." He turns away, collapsing onto his cot, and is snoring within minutes. You stand there, holding the cold leftover pie. This is your share of the spoils. This is your bonus for a job well done. You eat it, of course. You devour it in the dim candlelight. The taste of the rich meat and flaky pastry, an explosion in your mouth. It is the most delicious thing you have ever eaten. And as you swallow the last bite, you are filled not with gratitude, but with a cold, hollow emptiness. You have been rewarded with the scraps from your master's table, and you know, with absolute certainty, that this is the only kind of victory a squire is ever allowed to taste. The cold of the deep night begins to seep into the tent. Sir Renaud's snores are a constant, rattling counterpoint to the quiet hum of your own exhaustion. Sleep is an impossible dream, a distant country you are not allowed to enter. The leftover pie sits heavy in your stomach, a small island of fuel in a vast ocean of fatigue. There is work to do. Your attention turns to the casualty of the day's battle, the ruined shield. You bring it closer to the flickering candlelight, and for the first time, you properly assess the damage. It is a wreck. The thick leather facing is torn and shredded, hanging in pathetic strips. The wooden core beneath is deeply splintered, a large gouged wound where it took the blow from the warhammer. The main armstrap, the enarme, has been completely torn from its rivets. To a modern eye, this would be a piece of garbage, fit only for the fire. To you, it is your project for the night. There is no budget for a new one. It must be repaired. You begin the long and arduous process. This is not the simple work of polishing. This is the skilled craft of an artisan, a trade you have no conscious knowledge of, yet one your hands seem to remember. First, you must dismantle what is left. With a small, sharp knife and a pair of pliers, you pry away the remaining tacks and strip the torn leather from the shield's face, revealing the pale, wounded wood beneath. You carefully inspect the wooden core. The main structure is sound, but the splintering is bad. You retrieve a small pot of foul-smelling pitch, a mixture of pine resin and tar, and carefully work it into the cracks. A crude but effective wood glue that will help bind the splintered planks together. While the pitch dries, you turn your attention to the new facing. From a heavy chest, you pull out a roll of thick, undyed leather. You lay it on the floor and place the wooden shield core on top of it. You must now cut a perfect circle, leaving just enough extra to wrap around the edges. A single mistake, a slip of the knife, and you will ruin a large, expensive piece of material, a crime that would certainly earn you a beating. You work slowly, your tongue caught between your teeth in concentration. The candlelight casting long, dancing shadows on the canvas walls. The most difficult part is stretching the new leather over the shield. It must be pulled incredibly tight, without a single wrinkle or bubble, so that it will not tear or catch a weapon's point. You use your own body weight, your knees, your elbows, straining to pull the thick, resistant material taut, while you hammer in the first tacks around the edge. Your fingers are clumsy, your muscles weak with fatigue. You hit your thumb with the hammer, and a sharp, white-hot pain shoots up your arm. You stifle a cry, stuffing your bleeding thumb into your mouth to silence the sound, your eyes darting towards the sleeping form of Sir Renaud. He does not stir. The crisis is averted. You continue your work, the coppery taste of your own blood mingling with the scent of pitch and leather. Finally, the new facing is on. It is smooth, clean, and strong. You feel a flicker of something again, the ghost of a craftsman's pride. You have made a broken thing whole. But the most critical task remains, the straps. This is the part that terrifies you the most. You retrieve the torn leather straps and a pouch of fresh iron rivets. You use an awl to punch new holes in the leather and the wood. You carefully thread the straps through, reinforcing them, and then, with your hammer, you painstakingly rivet them to the back of the shield. Every single hammer blow is a prayer. Hold. Be strong. Do not fail. Because you know that these small, ugly pieces of metal are what will stand between your master and the force of a charging lance. Hours pass. The camp outside falls completely silent. The only sound is your own quiet work, the tap, tap, tap of your hammer. You are alone in the universe, a boy in a tent, trying to mend a broken world. As the first faint hint of dawn touches the sky, you finish. You hammer in the final rivet. You test the straps, pulling on them with all your might. They hold. The shield is whole again. It's not beautiful. It's scarred and patched, a veteran of a long war. But it is strong. It is functional. It will serve. You lean back, your body a single unified scream of exhaustion. You have worked through the entire night. You look at your hands. They are a disaster, covered in pitch, scrapes, and dried blood. You look over at the rest of the armor, still waiting. The dented pauldron, the scratched helmet. The work is never done. And then you look at Sereno, sleeping peacefully in his warm furs, dreaming, perhaps, of the glory he will win tomorrow, using the very shield you have just resurrected from the dead. You feel nothing, not anger, not resentment, just a hollow, endless emptiness. You are a machine for mending, a ghost that haunts the edges of another man's glory. And a new day is already here. The first rays of sunlight pierce the canvas of the tent, falling across your workstation. They illuminate the dust motes dancing in the air, and the deep, exhausted lines on your own filthy hands. You have worked through the entire night. The shield, your monstrous project, is whole again. It leans against the armor stand, a testament to your unseen, unthanked labor. Sleep is a distant memory, a forgotten country. Your body is a hollow shell, running on nothing but the dregs of last night's stew and pure nervous energy. You allow yourself to sit for a single precious moment, your back against a wooden chest, your eyes heavy. But the camp is waking up. The sounds begin again, the distant call of a trumpet, the whinnying of horses, the shouts of men. The world does not care that you have not slept. The tournament waits for no one. You know you cannot rest. You force your aching body to its feet and turn your attention to the next problem, the dented pauldron. You take a small, rounded hammer and a block of wood. You place the pauldron on the block and begin the delicate, the noisy process of tapping out the dent from the inside. Tap, tap, tap. Each blow is carefully measured. Too hard, and you could crack the steel. Too soft, and the dent will remain, a mark of imperfection, a sign of your failure. You must do this now before Sir Renaud wakes. He wakes an hour later, not with a warrior's focus, but with the groaning, foul-tempered misery of a man who drank too much celebratory wine. His mood is a dark cloud that fills the tent. This is a new and terrible variable. A focused master is predictable. A hungover master is a capricious tyrant. He stumbles out of his cot, clutching his head. He says nothing to you, but his bloodshot eyes scan the tent, looking for faults. His gaze falls on the repaired shield. He walks over, picks it up, and runs a thumb over the new leather facing and the lines of your repair work. You hold your breath. "It will serve," he grunts, setting it down. "It is the highest praise you could have hoped for." He then immediately points to his breastplate. "This polish is dull. Did you even work last night? Or did you sleep like a babe?" The injustice of the comment is a physical blow, but you have learned to swallow such things. "I will see to it, my lord," you say. your voice perfectly even. Today is the day of the individual jousts, a different kind of combat, with different armor and different pressures. Sir Renaud, nursing his aching head, begins to bark a new set of orders. Not that helm, you fool. The salad with the reinforcing before. And the Grand Guard. Where is the Grand Guard? Did you not clean it? The work begins again. You are now attaching extra pieces of steel to his existing armor, creating a massively reinforced shell designed to withstand the single, focused impact of a charging lance. You attach the Grand Guard, a heavy plate that covers his left shoulder and the side of his chest. You fasten the pass guard to protect his left elbow. Each piece is heavy, awkward. You work under his critical, irritable gaze, his every sigh a judgment on your slowness. Then come the lances. They are long, heavy poles of ashwood, tipped not with a sharp point, but with a three-pronged coronal, designed to grip the opponent's shield rather than pierce it. You must inspect each one, ensuring the wood is not cracked, the grip is secure, and the coronal is tightly fastened. A shattered lance is expected. A faulty one is a disgrace. As you are working, you overhear two men-at-arms talking just outside the tent. Their voices are low. A rider from the north, one says, brought news for the Baron. More trouble with the Scots on the border. God's teeth, the other mutters. Will we be marching before winter? The Baron looks grim. This tourney might be the last sport we see for a long while. The words send a chill through you that has nothing to do with the morning air. You are so consumed by the small, immediate world of this tournament, of rust, of straps, of your master's moods, that you have forgotten the world outside. These men, these knights, they are not just athletes playing a game. They are the warrior class. This tournament is their training ground, a festival of skill before they are called upon to perform their deadly duties in a real war. The thought adds a new layer of terrible significance to your work. The armor you are polishing is not for sport, it is for survival. The man you are dressing is not just a competitor, he is a killer. The preparations are finally complete. Sir Renaud, now fully encased in his jousting armor, looks less like a man and more like a bizarre, asymmetrical steel statue, heavily fortified on his left side. He waddles out of the tent toward his waiting horse. The trumpets sound, calling his name for his first match. Your job now enters its final, most stressful phase. You grab his shield and his jousting lance. You must also carry his great helm, the one with his crest, the black hawk, on top. He will only put it on at the very last second. You follow him to the entrance of the lists. The crowd is a roar of noise. At the far end of the long, fenced-off lane, you can see his opponent, another steel giant on a powerful horse. Sir Renaud is now on Merrick. He is handed his shield. All that is left is the helm and the lance. That is your job. You stand at his stirrup, the heavy helm in your hands, waiting for the signal from the herald. This is the moment. All your work, the polishing, the mending, the checking of straps, it all comes down to this single, violent charge. You look at your master, and then at the knight at the far end of the field. You look at the heavy lance in your hand, and you pray to any god that might be listening that you did your job well. The herald's trumpet sounds a final piercing note that cuts through the roar of the crowd. It is the signal. The world seems to hold its breath. Your moment of greatest responsibility is now. You must hand your master his helm and lance. You move with a practiced, trembling precision. First, the great jousting helm. You lift the heavy steel pot, your arms straining, and carefully place it over Sir Renaud's head. For a moment, you are face to face with him through the narrow eye slit. His eyes are invisible in the darkness, but you can feel the intensity of his focus. His entire being narrowed to the 100 yards of turf between him and his opponent. You fasten the final straps that connect the helm to his breastplate and backplate. Your fingers are slick with sweat. If these knots come loose, his head will snap back on impact. You pull them tight, the leather biting into your own skin. Then the lance. You place the heavy ash pole into the crook of his arm, making sure the grip is secure and the base is slotted perfectly into the array, the lance rest bolted to his breastplate. This small metal hook is all that will keep the full, crushing force of the impact from shattering his arm. You checked its rivets 3 times this morning. You pray it is enough. He is ready. He is a complete, perfect weapon. He gives a sharp kick to Maruk's flanks. The great warhorse lunges forward, and just like that, he is gone. He is thundering down the lists, a crimson and steel juggernaut, and you are left behind, suddenly small, powerless, and utterly irrelevant. You do not watch the charge as the crowd does. You do not see a glorious spectacle of chivalry. You see a terrifying, high-speed audit of your own work. Your eyes are not on the opponent. They are on Sir Renaud. You watch the way the Grand Guard on his shoulder sits, praying it doesn't shift. You watch the rhythm of the horse's gallop, praying the saddle girth you tightened doesn't slip. You watch the angle of the lance, praying the wood is sound. Every stride of the horse is a hammer blow of anxiety against your heart. You are not watching a joust. You are watching 100 of your own potential failures rushing towards a violent conclusion. The 2 knights converge. The distance closes in a blow of motion. Then comes the impact. It is not a single, clean sound. It is a symphony of catastrophic noise, a sound so violent it seems to tear the air apart. There is a sound, like a giant tree snapping in half. The sound of 2 lances shattering simultaneously against 2 shields. A blizzard of white ash splinters fills the air. This is followed by a deafening ringing clang as the residual force of the blow transfers from the shield to the helmet and breastplate. It is a sound of pure, brutal force. You see Sir Renaud's body jolt back in the saddle. A violent, convulsive movement, as if he's been struck by lightning. His head snaps back. Your stomach plummets. The straps, you think. The helm straps. But they hold. The helmet stays in place. You see his opponent reel, thrown completely off balance. The other knight's shield has been torn from his grasp, and he slumps forward, clinging to his horse's neck to keep from falling. Sir Renaud, however, remains upright. He is steady. He has weathered the storm. He has won the pass. A thunderous roar erupts from the crowd. They are cheering for the spectacle, for the clean break of the lances, for their champion's firm seat. You barely hear them. You are not cheering. You are simply breathing for what feels like the first time since he began his charge. You are flooded with a wave of relief, so powerful it makes your knees weak. Nothing broke. Nothing failed. The shield held. The armor held. The straps held. You held. Sir Renaud trots his horse back towards your end of the lists, a conquering hero. He pulls his magnificent crested helm from his head, his face flushed with triumph and adrenaline. He hands it to you. "A good pass," he says, a rare smile touching his lips. He looks at the shattered stump of his lance, then tosses it to the ground. A clean break. Good wood. He is praising the wood. He is praising the lance. He does not praise the boy who checked the wood for cracks, who polished the armor that absorbed the blow, who tied the knots that kept his head on his shoulders. You say nothing. You simply take the helm. "Another lance, my lord," you say, your voice a hoarse whisper. Because the day is not over. There are 2 more passes to run, and your terror is about to begin all over again. The second pass is a blur of frantic, repeated motions. Sir Renaud returns, his breathing heavier this time. You work in a practiced, desperate rhythm. You take the heavy, dented helm from his head, your arm shaking from its weight. You hand him the fresh lance. He snatches it, gives a curt nod, and thunders back down the lists for his next charge. There is no time for relief. In the minute he is gone, you are not watching the crowd or admiring the pageantry. You are performing a frantic damage assessment. You run a hand over the new dent in the helm, your fingers searching for the telltale hairline crack that would mean catastrophic failure. You glance at the shield he still carries, noting a new, deep score in the leather facing. Your mind is a running ledger of potential disasters, a checklist of anxieties. The trumpets blare, the horsage charge, the devastating crash of the impact echoes across the field again. This time, both knights stay in their saddles. Another clean break of lances. It is a draw, an honorable pass. Sir Renaud returns to your end of the lists, his face now grim with concentration. He is no longer smiling. The sport has become work. The strap on my left gauntlet, he barks, holding out his armored hand. It is loosening. I felt it slip as I took the impact. Fix it. Now. His voice is sharp with a cold, terrifying urgency. The heralds are already preparing for the third and final pass. You have perhaps 1 minute. Your blood runs cold. A loose gauntlet could mean a lost grip on the reins or the shield. It could be fatal. You pull out your small toolkit, your hands trembling. You find the small leather point that has worked its way loose from the metal buckle. Your fingers are clumsy, slick with sweat. The knot is tight. You struggle to undo it and retie it, all while Sir Renaud looms over you on his massive, impatient horse. The crowd is a distant roar. The world shrinks to this single, vital leather strap. "Be quick, boy," Sir Renaud growls, his frustration a palpable heat. You finally manage to pull the strap tight and secure the buckle. You give it a hard tug. It holds. You nod, your throat too dry to speak. He gives the strap a single, violent jerk to test it himself. It holds. Satisfied, he takes the final lance from you. "If I am disgraced because of your fumbling," he says, his voice a low threat, "I will have your hide." He does not wait for a reply. He spurs Marok into position for the final charge. You watch, your entire being focused on his left hand. You do not see the charge. You do not see the opponent. You see only the gauntlet, the strap, your hasty, fumbled repair. The impact is the loudest yet, a magnificent, explosive collision of force. You see Sir Renaud's opponent thrown backward over the rump of his horse, landing in the dirt with a crash of steel and a cloud of dust. Sir Renaud remains firmly in his saddle, his lance broken, his shield held high. He has won. He has unequivocally, spectacularly won. The crowd erupts. The noise is a physical wave that washes over you. Heralds cry his name. Banners wave. Sir Renaud, the champion, raises a gauntleted fist, his left fist, to the roaring stands. The strap holds. He is the hero of the day. He is led on a victory lap around the lists. The crowd cheering his name, ladies throwing him flowers. You do not celebrate. Your work is just beginning. While he soaks in the adoration, you are a scavenger on the battlefield of his glory. You retrieve the 2 shattered lances, valuable ashwood that can perhaps be repurposed. You pick up the battered shield his opponent dropped. You gather all the gear. Then you must face the task of retrieving his horse. You make your way to the center of the lists, where the champion is being congratulated by the Baron himself. You approach the great warhorse, Merrick, who is still agitated, his flanks heaving. You take his reins, invisible to the nobles, who are showering your master with praise. You are the janitor, cleaning up after the party. You lead the horse away, back through the cheering crowds. They part for the magnificent warhorse, the instrument of victory. They do not even see the small, exhausted, mud-spattered boy leading him. You reach the tent. The sounds of celebration are a world away. Inside, it is quiet. It is just you, a victorious but exhausted horse, and a new collection of dented, broken equipment to repair before the next day. Sir Renault's triumph is over. Your longest night of work has just begun. The hours after midnight crawl by, each one a small eternity. The tournament camp has finally fallen into a drunken, exhausted slumber. The only sounds are the distant howl of a dog and the gentle flap of the canvas tent in the cold night wind. Inside, by the light of a single sputtering candle, you are still at work. The world has been reduced to the landscape of a single dented gauntlet. You have a small, rounded hammer and a piece of shaped wood you use as an anvil. With painstaking care, you tap at the inside of the steel, your blows soft and precise, coaxing the metal back into its proper shape. It is a slow, meditative process. Tap, tap, tap. Each tap is a tiny rebellion against the chaos of the day. You are not just fixing a piece of armor. You are restoring order. You have already tended to the horses, the new one included. You have cleaned and oiled the saddle. You have repaired the shield. Now, you are working your way through the litany of dents, scrapes, and strains that the joust inflicted upon your master's steel skin. Sir Renaud returns very late, long after the moon has reached its zenith. He is not just drunk. He is gloriously, triumphantly drunk. He stumbles into the tent, singing a bawdy song, a silver cup still in his hand. He nearly trips over the very armor you are meticulously repairing. "Boy," he bellows, his voice slurring. The Baron himself declared it the finest joust he's seen in a year. A year. The Lady Isabel, she gave me her scarf." He fumbles inside his tunic and produces the silk token, waving it in the air like a battle standard before letting it fall to the floor. He is recounting his epic poem to an audience of one, and his audience is on his hands and knees, hammering a dent out of his boot armor. He does not see the irony. He does not see you at all. He speaks of the wagers he won, the silver that now weighs down his purse. He talks of the challenges for tomorrow. His mind is full of glory, of wine, of the beautiful faces of the ladies in the stands. In a fit of drunken generosity, he fumbles in his purse and pulls out a coin. He squints at it, then tosses it at you. It lands on the floor by your knee with a soft clink. It is a silver penny, a real one. "For your troubles," he slurs, the words an afterthought. "Good work with the lance, boy. Good wood." He praises the wood. He does not praise the hand that chose it, nor the eye that inspected it. He sees the tool, not the technician. Within minutes, he has collapsed onto his cot, dead to the world, leaving you in the quiet of the tent, with the silver coin and the mountain of work still to be done. You pick up the penny. It is cool and heavy in your hand. It is more money than the body you inhabit has likely ever held at one time. It is a tangible piece of the day's victory, but it feels hollow. It is not a wage, it is a whim, a tip tossed to a servant who happened to be nearby. You put the coin away and return to your work. As the first faint hint of dawn threatens the eastern sky, you finally finish. The armor is whole again. The dents are gone. The straps are mended. The steel gleams with a soft, deadly light. It is ready. You sit back on your heels, your entire body a single, unified chorus of pain and exhaustion. You have not slept. You have worked from one sunrise to the next, and in the cold, quiet stillness of the tent, you realize the truth. You did have a victory today. Your victory was not the roar of the crowd or the favor of a lady. Your victory was the strap on the gauntlet that did not break. It was the rivet on the shield that held firm. It was the helmet that did not crack. Your victory was measured in the integrity of your own work under the most extreme pressure imaginable. Your victory was that your master, in all his arrogant glory, is still alive. The greatest triumph of a squire is to be invisible, because his visibility only comes with his master's failure. You look at the magnificent armor, and then at your own raw, bleeding hands that have made it so. The knight wins the glory, the silver, and the psalms. The squire wins the quiet, anxious, and deeply personal satisfaction of a job well done. His reward is the continuation of his service. His prize is the right to do it all again tomorrow. You finally allow yourself to lie down on your straw pallet, the sounds of Sir Renaud's snoring a familiar lullaby. You are not a hero. You are not a warrior. You are a squire, and you have survived another day. And so his day ends, only to begin again at the next sunrise. His victory is not a trophy or a song, but the simple, terrifying fact that he gets to continue his service, that his master is alive, and his own work went unnoticed. Thank you for joining us for this look into the anxious, unseen world of the arming squire. It's a powerful reminder that behind every shining knight, behind every legend of chivalry and glory, stood a tired, overworked, and terrified boy whose own story was told in rust, leather, and the constant fear of failure. If you appreciate these deep dives into the raw, human experience of the past, and if you find value in these stories, please consider supporting the channel. It only takes a moment, and it makes a huge difference. Leave a like on this video to let me know you found this journey worthwhile. And be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you're always ready for our next trip to the past. And now I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think was the worst part of the squire's job? The physical labor, the constant anxiety, or the complete lack of recognition?